Hello everyone, my name is VoidDoctor and welcome back to another episode on the InfinityCraft server. And we begin this episode in front of this little area of Westhold that I've been expanding. And just letting you guys know, the name of the town is Westhold, as I've elaborated on in past episodes, and now since I've pretty much gotten 0 submissions, in fact, yes, I've gotten 0 submissions on Twitter and Instagram about the name of the town, or about the name of the castle, sorry, not the town, the castle. The castle's name is now Westhold, and I think that makes sense, sort of having, or it's actually Castle Westhold, and I think that makes sense, sort of having the name of the castle be, tied in with the name of the town. That just makes sense. So, yeah, Castle Westhold also just kind of rolls off the tongue. So I'm fairly happy with that. Not too disappointed about not getting any submissions. But, yeah, so I've been making quite a bit of off-camera progress over here, sort of developing the houses and things. Pretty happy with this one, although I'm actually really happy with this one, because this sort of house design here, it's fairly small in terms of space, but you get quite a bit of upstairs interior space for like a bedroom and things. And if you use this spiral staircase, or this like spiral staircase-esque design, you can fit like a kitchen and things down here and not have to worry about like sort of running out of space, because there's quite a bit of space down there, but it still saves quite a bit of space for other buildings around it. So this will probably be the sort of townhouse design that we use in the future. And I've also been working on sort of laying out these lanterns in places, just places that make sense, and also putting up these little lampposts in places that make more sense to have lampposts in them. But mainly, I've actually, or it's not a big significant change, but I've basically been working on releasing, or so far I've only released 2. One of them died, but I've released a couple villagers out from the farmers, but they were unemployed villagers, and I just put them in the houses, specifically this house is where both of them got released to. And I just, it feels so atmospheric, because I feel like I sleep enough and the town's well lit, so I'm not really worried about mobs getting them. I don't know what happened to the other one, because I don't think it died to a zombie, because that's just, the likelihood of that is extremely low. So I think something else happened to it. But yeah, so I've just sort of been releasing the villagers and sort of letting them wander around. And yeah, this guy seems to still be alive. I think his companion maybe didn't survive so well. But the main thing that I'd like to work on in today's episode is actually working on developing the harbor down here. Now, not exactly working on the harbor itself, but more working on the area around it. Sort of, specifically the street up here is what I really want to develop. So, Hello? You. I don't know if this was the guy. I don't know if the butcher, because it was a butcher over there, and I don't know if I traded with him. So maybe he wandered too far away from his workstation and switched jobs. That's very interesting. But, yeah, so the first thing I'd like to do is sort of just lay out a bit of, like a bit of a stone road here. Sort of like this, but, hold on, let me just draft a quick example here. Yeah, so if you could imagine something like this very rough draft being sort of what I want the roads to look like, just sort of having a, like an elevated terrace here, I guess. That's actually precisely what I want this to be like. It's sort of an elevated terrace with things like shops and things like that built on it. Sort of signify that this is like this is sort of like the downtown of the whole town back here of Westhold, is because it's, it's got all the shops, it's got all the money being made, so it makes more sense to have the roads here be a bit fancier. Maybe we could line this with slabs or something, make it feel a bit more, make it feel like there's a bit of a railing here, and then obviously we'd have little staircases down to the docks right here. But this is definitely my idea, sort of having this stone walkway with things, again, like this building here. Just gonna stand there. Alright. But yeah, having buildings sort of lining this whole place. And later in the episode, I do want to construct a few shops here, sort of like, I don't want this to be like another residential area, because I want the further inland areas, I want those to be like the residential areas. But I want most of the shops and places to be built on this terrace here, because it just makes more sense to have, the wealthier areas, like the shopping areas, be built on nicer roads, even though roads aren't super important. Like they don't really make a the quality of the roads, I mean, the quality of the roads makes a difference, but like it doesn't make a massive difference. It does sort of signifies that this area is a little bit wealthier. So I think we're going to construct these roads, obviously, in the form of a third-person time-lapse, because this is going to be a very fun thing to make a time-lapse. It's going to be very fun to edit the time-lapse of this. So I hope you guys enjoy the time-lapse. Alright, folks, so I'm actually super happy with how this, I guess it's like a second tier of roads has come together. It's a slight change in block palette from down here, namely, we lost the andesite. I just think the andesite looks strange, and I'm still noticing spots where I forgot to put the dirt in, but I just thought the andesite kind of looked strange, or at least on here, from like the side walls, it looks strange, and we switched woods, because I think it kind of, when I say we switched woods, I mean we switched like the wood that I used on the support pillars. I switched from dark oak logs to spruce logs because I think the dark oak, I mean, it looks good in the water because it sort of it looks like these are sort of, I don't know, they're wet maybe. Yeah, they look like wet logs, but because it's like a darker color, but they're sort of like drier, so it's like a lighter color tone. I was never a huge fan of the fact that dark oak logs were so desaturated, but it works. It still looks interesting and provides a little bit more depth, and also, again, provides like some sense here, because it's like, okay, these logs are wet, so they're probably going to look a bit darker, whereas they're probably more dry, which is why they're like a lighter color tone. However, the next thing I'd like to work on up here is constructing some shops, and I have a pretty cool idea for the first shop I want to construct up here. It's going to be more of a larger shop, and it's going to be sort of like a clothing shop, because my idea is that this town's kind of, a more wealthy town, not just like it's not supposed to be like a little village. It's supposed to be like a bigger town with money to spend and, of course, money to make. So there's probably going to be somebody selling some nicer clothes, so I thought maybe we could make a shop with like some clothes in the window, some like dyed armor in the window or something, like dyed leather armor or something in the window. So yeah, I think I'm gonna whip up like a creative mode draft in a super flat world, and we'll construct it on the server. All right, folks, so this was actually my original design. I actually made this a couple days ago, kind of in preparation for this episode, but I just thought this was way too large, and the windows at least especially on the bottom floor, way too tall. So I sort of shrunk it down a bit, and I think this also looks, and just looks a bit more homely and sort of rustic, and I really like how this has come together. I also framed the roof out in spruce, and I really like how this has come together. You got like these little, oh, I forgot to put a window here, but you got like these little, well, I don't know what you'd call these, but they're just like little supporting structures around the windows that just, provide a bit of, shape to the build. It kind of comes out a block here and sort of looks like it's almost supporting the roof a bit, even though it's not actually. I'm forgetting all sorts of things here, but yeah, you kind of get what this is supposed to look like. And I just sort of I left this back area open so I could I was gonna trial another sort of like I don't even know what these are called, like just the extension of the wall right here. I was gonna trial another one of these, but I just decided not to. I was happy with how this front one came together. So yeah, I think we're just gonna hop back onto InfinityCraft. Obviously farm a ton of oak, since this is made primarily out of stripped oak logs, which are not, logs are never easy to acquire, and when you're building primarily with logs instead of planks, it's going to be even more expensive. So I gotta get some logs. And here we are, folks. So I've done quite a bit of tree chopping, and I've just grabbed some other woods that I know I'll need. But this build, remarkably, uses basically no stone, which is something you basically don't see around here, except for in the little barn over there. But for the most part, most of the buildings have a stone foundation. So I tried to sort of stray away from that because I think the stone foundations are getting a bit repetitive, or just like the plain stone. Maybe we'll use some granite and things later and other builds. But for this one, I want to use primarily wood because I think the combination of the stripped oak with the acacia planks, this acacia was extremely painful to farm because the acacia tree shapes, but I feel like this combination here, just sort of like a like a little model of what it looks like, I think that combination is pretty nice looking. So yeah, this is pretty much what I want to go for, and the first thing I'm going to do is just build up the bottom floor, like the little outline, and then we'll go from there. I also want to remove this hill right here because this is, I want to put the building here, but I want to have a little like road going through here, maybe so we can eventually connect it up to the road system, because currently there's no way for the road system to connect to this. So yeah. All right, folks. So I've pretty much gotten the entire walls done on this shop, and I'm actually really happy with how this place looks. Like if we take a step back, view it from the trees. Back here, it looks quite nice sitting there. Once we connect this whole place to the roads, the rest of this sort of town road system, it should look pretty cool, sort of having this little strip of shops up here. Whoops, I just fell off this little terrace here. And so now I'm gonna work on the roof of this place, which is, I think the roof design's pretty cool. I like how this roof has come together because it's like a curve that gets shallower as it goes up. So you'll see what I mean when I'm done. Well, you've already seen the roof, but you'll see what it looks like in the InfinityCraft world once I'm done with it. Yeah, something like this. So it sort of starts off with one block steep Yeah, see how the curve sort of starts off with 1 block steps and then it switches to half slabs? That's pretty much what I mean. It's like a it just gets shallower as you go, and that is not someone I'd like to be dealing with right now. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just gonna finish up filling in this roof, and we'll move on to the interior, which is what I'm really excited about because I want to put like little armor stands and things in here. So yeah, it should be fun. Alright, so this is actually what I was going for. I think the orange just sort of provides a little pop of color, and I also just think the general shape of the building definitely makes it stand out in front of like the town, So when you're back here, let's do something a bit more realistic. If you're like on a boat or something that's in the river, sort of like a traveling ship, you're probably going to see this and be like, you know what, that's a pretty cool building. I want to go check that out. So that's kind of my idea here, is sort of make the orange and also just the shape of the building, the sort of more grand shape of the building, draw your eye. But the next thing we need to do is to add an interior. So what I want to do is have little display shelves or little display items on each of these 4 corners, sort of displaying different like items or clothing sets, I guess. Just armor stands wearing dyed leather armor, pretty much. We don't have to do all the dyed leather armor because that's going to take quite a while. But I do want to, because I want to have some more upstairs, but I do want to at least finish the downstairs floor of this episode, and we can do the rest of it off camera. I also need to add a floor and a ceiling and a few other things, like maybe a cashier's register and stuff. Because, again, this seems like a really modern idea of like having a clothing store. But again, this town isn't supposed to be, entirely historically accurate. This town is supposed to be pretty wealthy. My idea for this town is that it's like a wealthy town with lots of people living in it and lots of trade and lots of foreign traveling, foreign travelers coming to, going to come visit the town. So you'd assume that one of the largest, one of the most profitable businesses, or one of the most profitable business locations, would be down on the water, where most of the ships and things would be coming up from the harbor. So it makes sense to have, one of the fancier businesses, arguably, be in the better location. All right, folks. So I've pretty much just gathered a bunch of like old mob loot armor and stuff, leather armor, unenchanted it or disenchanted. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called disenchantment actually, and dyed it different colors. Or I've actually only dyed this set of armor just as a little example. So, or for what it's going to look like. Of course, you know how to dye armor, but maybe you don't. But I'd assume a majority of the people who are watching this know how to dye armor. But see, that looks pretty official, you know. You're like, whoa, that, I mean, if you were a Minecraft player, you know, like obviously you probably wouldn't, if I'd assume the residents of this town, when I think of like a fictional town of Minecraft players, I don't think of them, I think of them probably not wearing like enchanted netherite armor. I'd assume they're probably wearing like leather armor. So yeah, you'd see that and you're like, whoa, that's some new like fashion. That's like the new fashion trend or whatever, you know, the purple dyed armor. So, you know, you'd probably go into the store and be like, yeah, I want some of that. So I'm gonna finish filling up these little stands, putting a roof up here, probably put a ladder up to the second floor somewhere, probably maybe here. And then we'll go from there. Probably construct a new shop over here. Probably, I kind of want to fill this up. Like, maybe, we'll not fill up all the space, but kind of have them very close together. Like not connected, but like kind of like townhouses. Except townhouses, actually, most townhouses were connected back then. But yeah, so we're going to have them very close together, little narrow alleyways between them. That's kind of my idea. Alrighty, folks, so I'm actually super happy with how this little interior has come together. I think it's actually reminiscent of the cat cafe from last season, specifically with this potted plant. I looked inside that cat cafe from last season as a reference for the interior, and I found that these potted plants, just potted azaleas, look really good as just little desktop plants. So that's what the purpose of that is. I was going to have that be a mug, but no, I just think it looks better as a little potted plant there. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with how the interior of this build has come together. But the next thing I'd like to construct here is a set of just smaller little shops. Be like a, I don't know. I don't know what we could do, but the first thing I'd like to do is just construct the buildings, and maybe we can interior them later, or put interiors in them later. So let's get building the buildings, and I think we'll do this in the form of a third-person time-lapse. Maybe? I kind of like to go off of reference images, so maybe a time-lapse wouldn't fit this, but I don't know. We'll see what happens after this clip is over. Alrighty, I hope you guys enjoyed that time lapse as much as I enjoyed making these little townhouses. I'm super happy with how these have actually come together, and I think what I want to do with these, as I said before, is sort of have them function as like little shops in the bottom. So I don't know what this one could be, but I definitely want this one to be a little bakery, you know, selling cakes and things down on the bottom floor, cookies, baked, probably bread as well on the bottom floor. And then have the second floor be like little residences for the owners of the shop. So just little houses for them to live in. And I added this little dark oak pillar here. I've added some floors and things. And there's just little ladders to get up to the second floor because there definitely isn't enough space for staircases. And this one, I want to make the residence for the owner, again, be upstairs, probably via a ladder somewhere in the build. Maybe take out one of these torches here and put a ladder going up to the second floor there. That would probably work. And yeah, I'm just super happy with how these little townhouses have come together. And I think once we really start to develop this front area, you know, the sort of shoreline, I guess, or the waterfront, these will start really looking good. Like if we maybe add more this way or just expand this little like row of shops and things this way, it'll start to put them in context, and then we can put like roads and things around this. And I want to have there be like a larger plaza here with some more buildings sort of surrounding it, including these obviously, and sort of have the whole place be like behind here, maybe like some fountains and things. And even up here I want there to be a couple fountains and things, and just sort of have the whole place feel like the main sort of downtown area of the whole town, because I want this right on the waterfront to be like where all of the events are held, like bigger events and things like that. And I think this is actually where we are going to wrap up today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. My name, as always, has been VoidDoctor. Please like, subscribe, and share if you did enjoy the video as much as I enjoyed making it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.